Okay, we are ready to go. And we are in betwixt and between, as we always are on Monday, between where we have come from and where we are going. So this past Shabbos we read in Israel, Parshas Chukosai, and it seems that America and Israel will not get together for a while, which they could have done last week. Because last week was Parshas Bahar in America, and they could have easily read Parshas Chukosai together with it, which it generally does.
They didn't do it?
Here did not.
No, why?
It's not. We're not going to reconcile till close till before Tisha B'Av.
Why didn't they do it?
That's a very good question. I don't want to focus on that right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Other than say that there are times where we reconcile prior to. There are times we reconcile prior to the Torah. However,
I thought it was halachic issue.
yeah, I did.
Oh.
Well, we're not talking about that today.
Okay.
Anyway, so the point is that in Parshat Chukosai, there are many, many things that I believe will help us understand some of the things that are swirling around us. I don't know how you feel, but today particularly, and I'm usually pretty okay, I'm just a little bit shaken up about everything that's going on in the wake of Lag BaOmer particularly. I was privileged to go on Lag BaOmer to Meron with 5 boys. I didn't know I was going to do it, but my 2 sons and 3 of their friends, and thank God they keep each other company, and listen to a lot of Jewish music together, and they enjoyed that. God bless them. But we were driving up using Waze to Meron, and I usually go during the day. It's a little less crowded, and it's not as ominous as going at night where there's so many people and you really don't even have a sense of what's going on because you can't see that clearly, the roads, etc. We went in broad daylight, and I found myself, due to Waze, passing by the city of Nahariya. And in the city of Nahariya, which is beautiful, which really has become a beautiful jewel of a town, very small, it's right up, it's a border town, it's right near the Lebanese border. And there is one of the, I would say, the most popular of contemporary members of the Abu Hatzera family, of which we shared some of the Divrei Torah. I told you last year this time I went to Morocco and so on. All the Baba Sali, his grandfather, the Yaacov. These are the luminaries of the Abu Hatzera Moroccan clan. And the one that's most popular today is Rabbi David Abu Hatzera. And Rabbi David is a crossover vehicle in that he wears a Litvish or European hat. And therefore, he has a wide appeal to people from the Yeshivish community, and not merely from the indigenous Sephardic community. And you will find people there, as I did, from all over the globe, England and so on and so forth. They're coming to do the Lag BaOmer, sometimes cutting the hair, asking to cut the hair, but mostly done Lag BaOmer, but coming for basically advice and chizur. And I was very taken with how he reacted to my boys, how he blessed them and interacted with them. He gave a lot of chizuk, and I realized that it was like some sort of drawing me there. There was some magnetic energy that I had no plan to go there, but I had really no plan to go there. But I ended up there because we were going down Main Street in Nahariya, which is 1 kilometer from his house, and I recognized because I lived there. I said, let's just pull. I just said, where is his house? 1 kilometer away. Let's just go. Where is yeshiva where he sits? So I got brachas for everybody. I got for everybody, especially our wonderful class in Meron, but also got general brachas for everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.
And I realized that something, I think I'll attribute it to my general interest in the Abu Hatzera family and having gone to Morocco, that somehow, last several years, I would go up to Nahariya and then go to Meron. Last year I couldn't because he doesn't see people on Wednesdays, and Lag BaOmer was a Wednesday, but this year it was a Thursday and he was seeing people. And I just felt like, because I've invested interest and energy in getting close to those tzaddikim, so kind of they pulled me in and my children for a bracha, and I was very grateful. And then it occurred to me that really the thing that we really have going for us, amidst everything that's going on, and I'll document a few things and then we'll look at the parsha, is that there's a soul connection between Am Yisrael and Hashem. This is the essential difference between Am Yisrael and everyone else. The world can come to, will need to borrow the Jewish people, as Christians have done, and much of Judaism, which the Muslims have done, including their 5 prayers, which are based on the 5 tefillos of Yom Kippur. It's very simple. And many other things in terms of halal, and the fact that there's a Sabbath, whether before our Shabbos or after our Shabbos. The Muslims went a day early, the Christians went a day late, but generally speaking, they're just trying to shift it in their own direction, which is what the point is. They're trying to take that connection. Now that connection originates with the Avos, and specifically found its turning point where? At what moment? What was the key moment in history? Well, yes, but because Avram is still very, very connected to whom after the Akedah? To Yishmael. Goes ahead and marries Hagar, produces all these children, and the Bnei Keturah, and guess what? That's why we have a contest for Eretz Yisrael, because the Bnei Keturah accepted Bris Milah. They have a mitzvah, the same as us, to do Bris Milah on the 8th day. It's crazy. Just that we don't know who the Bnei Keturah are. They're all mixed up with the regular Arabs. But if we could identify a real Ben Keturah, and they asked us, what should we do about Zmila? So we say, give your child a bris, like Avram Avinu on the 8th day. Unbelievable thing. And that's why we compete with them for Eretz Yisrael, because Eretz Yisrael is linked to Avram's bris. But it was another seminal moment in which the soul connection that the tzaddikim represent, like Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, like the Abu Chaseira of the contemporary eras, that soul connection veered off at one critical moment. What was that?
What?
At the Torah, as we will see, was the continuation of that separation. It's not, the Avos began.
You said with at the Torah?
But yeah, the Torah corresponds to that as well. And it's the whole purpose of creation anyway. But the time that Yaakov received Esau's blessing, Rivka steered Yaakov in the direction of Yitzhak to get the blessings. He received 7 blessings. Okay? All of them had to do with Tal, and also things related to Parnasa, but specifically Tal. Okay? Just make a note of that. And
Tal, you mean do?
yeah, do, Tal. Tal is associated, and the Medrash speaks about this. It is the Medrash is located in Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer Lamed Beis, and also in Psikta Rabasi Chaf Aleph 21. It says like this. Okay, I'm sorry. There's 2 things going on here. There's Aseres Hadibros, which is 10. Brias Ha'olam, which is 10 statements. We'll see about the 7. 7 is the lower part of the 10. Okay? But just let's let's start with our bookmarks. We have 10 commandments, right? Aseres Hadibros. Prior to that, we have Asar Mamaros Shnei Olam. We also have, when in that bracha, Rabbi Yehuda Amar, Yud brachos. It was 10 brachos, Birech Yitzchak Liyaakov. 10 blessings. Tale Shemayim va'al Dagan Haaretz. They all had to do with the dew from heaven and the produce of the earth, which is the bracha that was meant for whom? Esau. And they correspond, he says, to the 10 Maimarim with which the world was built. And then it goes on to say that when Yaakov went out of that episode, the Tal of Trias HaMesim engulfed him, right? And he became Abir Yaakov. Ironically, that's the name of the Chukosai Rabbi, is Abir Yaakov. He becomes Abir Yaakov, which essentially means he becomes the tzaddik soul connection that Hashem is really looking for. He becomes from plain Yaakov to Abir Yaakov. And Abir Yaakov plays itself out in Yosef. Yosef Hatzah.
What about Yaakov with the Eretz? Is that
That's also part of it, but that's the midah. That's one of the things. So now that we've reached Yaakov, Avinu, okay, what happens is that Yosef is out. That Yosef takes over the position of Esav, and Esav is out. Now, what's very important to note is Baal Turim says that there are also 10 psukim of the blessing of Im Bechukotai. Okay? So watch this. Bechukotai begins with 10 statements of blessing. Let's take a look at them for a second. Okay, you ready? Im Bechukosai Seilechu. If you will go in my ways, and the word im means that it's a condition, right? It's conditional. Conditional to what?
keeping the mitzvah?
Keeping the mitzvos. But the word im also stands for aim, or mother, or it's up to you. What you put in, like they teach you in college, Mahavdil, they say, you want to program computers? There's something called gigo. Garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you put in is what you're going to extract. So, Eretz Yisrael is motherland. Now, in Russia, they like to call it the Havdil, the fatherland. The Germans, Yimach Shema, what did they call their land? Fatherland. Fatherland. But we call Eretz Yisrael is really the motherland because it's im or aim. It's what you put in is what you're going to get out. The father is stable, stagnant, unchanged. The woman develops life, right? And it's not a stagnant thing. So it says, and Rashi says this is all about Amelus B'Torah, which leads us to our trigger. So let's understand the 10s and the 7s. Asara psukim are mi'im b'chukosai until va'olech etchem komemiyut. The last word of the 10 blessings of the Chukosai at the very beginning is komemiyut. All right? Standing up.
Upright.
Upright. That's when Klal Yisrael is in its ultimate position. What is it? What's the end game? The end game is komemiyut, standing up. What do we say? Harachaman hu yakim lanu es sukas David hanofalis. Yakim is the standing. Okay? Now, that means that the Beis HaMikdash is standing. That's really what it means. And I'll show you a little proof to that. Also from the Baal Turim. Baal Turim says that the letter komemiyut, the kuf, in our Masorah of how you write Sifrei Torah. You know, there's in the Torah there's the letters, the formations of the letters, and then there's something called tagim. Tagim are the little crowns of the letters. It's to say that Rabbi Akiva was able to learn just from the tagim of the letters amazing amount of halachot, and that means Kabbalistic things. Not
God sends the motion, okay?
Right, and those tagim, we have an incredible Masorah about it. There's 3 of them in the kuf of komemiyut. 3. And what they represent, 2 on top and 1 facing downwards. Says the Baal Turim, 3 to emphasize chazaka. Once you say 3, 1, 2, 3, like 1, 2, 3 of us, we got Klal Yisrael. 1, 2, 3 is a chazaka. Chut hamishulash mimhera lo yinatei. So it's the affirmed kuf. What's the affirmed kuf? What is kuf b'gematria? 100. So there's a very unusual medrash quoted by the Baal Turim. He says, we're going to be standing 100 feet tall. 100 amos tall. We're going to get much taller. Jews are not terribly tall, generally speaking. except for my granddaughter, who's on the 98th percentile of growth. And she celebrated her first birthday party yesterday, which I did not attend. My wife did. So she happens to be on the 98th percentile of all babies in height and weight. That's including glacier babies. So she's impressive, okay? But we will all be very impressive. Eventually, says the Medrash, we'll all stand 100 amos tall, some say 200 amos tall. Now, to be 100 amos tall, 1.5 feet, that means you're 150 feet tall. And most of us are between 5 and 6, right? I mean, Jews are between 5 and 6. Very few Jews are over 6. Maybe in Israel, there are more Jews over 6, but basically between 5 and 6 feet tall. So we're going to grow how many times? 20 times. There's an interesting connection between 5 and 100 in the Parsha also. What does the Torah say? It says, 5 of us will be Rodef 100. That's a 1 to 20 ratio. But 100 of us, says the Pasuk, will be able to chase a Revava, 10,000. Rashi asks the obvious question. What's the proportion? 1 to 20? So what's the proportion of 100 times 20? 2,000. So how come 100 Jews can be Rodef, can get away, can chase out 10,000 terrorists? Because the combined power of Jews increases by multiples. More Jews you add. The word is Yosef. When you add, and who's the person who has the ability to add? Only the tzaddik. Only the tzaddik. The tzaddik is Yosef. What does Yosef do? He realigns the brothers. He sits them at the table. L'mishpach osam, l'beis av osam. Right? Everybody according to their age. Everybody according to their place. He gets them to readopt him. He brings down his father. He puts him in a place in Goshen. He sets up the whole thing. That's what a tzaddik has the power to do. Not everybody can do it. And so, in the context, and we'll get back to what the Baal Turba is saying, mentioned that, what happened this past week on Lag BaOmer was very shaking.
The fires?
First of all, there were arson fires. So instead of the fire of the tzaddik, the holy fire, we had arson fire. Thank God nobody was killed, which is itself not a miracle beyond proportion. But then one kid was killed in the spot, another fire. It is now confirmed 100% that those fires were arson and had nothing to do. I knew it implicitly, but now they came up with the truth. These were set by terrorists. Among the things that were destroyed, besides the Ben Shemen fires, and Shemen is what?
Oil.
And what do you light on Lag BaOmer? Oil for whom? So the Zecher Nishmas Shiur Tzadikim. Right? So the Ben Shemen forest, that's who we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be the Bnei Shemen, that we're lighting Shemen. Right? 30% gone, maybe more. The Moshav Mavo Modi'in, which was started by whom? By Shlomo Carlebach, was burnt to a crisp.
Except for Sforim.
Except for two things.
Yeah, Beit Knesset and his
The beautiful shul where I davened once when I went for the festival, the music festival last year. When did they have that? They have it on
Cholomoy books.
Yeah. I went there only one time.
I used to go all the time to the women's Rosh Chodesh events.
In that little shul.
Yeah. We sang Hallel there.
You said Hallel there. So isn't it amazing that
So what was the other thing? The shul?
the shul and in Rosh Shlomo Karlov, they had a little house that belonged to him, and for whatever reason, it's been gone for
It's a shrine.
many, many years already. You don't touch it, and there was a room that was filled with his books. He loved Svarim. He loved the Siddush Svarim. I'll never forget a picture that I saw of him sitting in San Francisco in the House of Love and Prayer, which was I don't want to go into it, but about as low as you can go in terms of being a tzaddik, okay? Between the drugs and the love and the music and everything, the bottom of the bottom, hippiedom. And he's sitting there learning the Ishbitzer Sefer. And so that is exactly the pshat in the tzaddik. Now, I'm not here to talk about Shlomo Kavach. I'm not getting into that. I'm just talking about that piece of what we know, which is that he reached into the cesspool, literally the cesspool, and drew out holy neshamas. That to sit with an Ishbitzer and to just hold on to the tzaddik and try to lift up Jewish souls, that is the avodah of tzaddik. In fact, the Gemara tells us that Avraham Avinu does just that. The original Baal Chesed, the original Jew, sits at the entrance to Gehenna, and if he sees a bris milah, a familiar thing, he yanks him out. But Nachman of Breslov made a similar promise. He says, if you come to me and connect to me, people have a lot of objections. Why are you leaving Eretz Yisrael? Why are you Ummah? Great news. There's a lot of protests why people should go to Europe. In fact, after the war, most people said never to step foot in Germany, never to step foot in Poland and all these places. I don't blame them. Right now, there's how many Jews living in Berlin? Or in Germany in general? 200,000. That's not very different from what the population was in 1938. Not that different. There were no 600,000 Jews in Germany. If there were 200,000 or 300,000, it's almost the identical population that it has. And maybe more. It's a lot.
Maybe they're the same neshamas.
It's a shocking amount of people. There are South American countries that don't have 200,000 Jews. I have a friend from South Africa. Anybody from South Africa? You're from South Africa, right? How many Jews lived at the most in South Africa ever in history? You hear this?
How much? 50,000. 50,000?
So some say it was up to 120,000. That's what I heard, the highest estimate. Now they say it's about 50,000. And you don't think it's even that. How could it be that in Germany there are 200,000 Jews and in South Africa, which we think of as a strong, stable community of Jews, Zionistic and what?
So what's their answer?
They're lost in a deep hole that only a tzaddik can get them out of. Shlomo was one of those tzaddikim in that way. And there were two things that Shlomo did. He sang and he told over Hasidic stories. Those are the two things that survived the fire. You hear? His singing and his songs, and his svarim, which he drew his stories. His songs and his stories were not destroyed. And I saw, I don't know if you did, my daughter showed me, there was a video clip of them walking into the house.
Yeah.
Did you see it? You can find it. The whole house is completely destroyed, ashes. And then there's a room with cartons of books, nothing. They don't even look like smoke damage, like nothing. I have to say, Malachim stood in front of those books and protected them from being burnt. And the firemen said, this is an open miracle by the laws of nature. By fire, it's impossible. There's no way. If there be a wind of nothing. The only thing that they had to have neshamos standing in front, those neshamos, whoever he was makarev with his songs, whoever he was makarev with this, and their ancestors, whoever it was, guarded his sword. They shouldn't be burned. And guarded his beautiful shul, not touched. It doesn't make any sense. This is what I mean by a soul connection to Hashem. It makes no sense, but it is. That's our intuitive knowledge of Hashem. What does Yosef say to Paro? We'll look at their encounter for a second. It's very, very important. I'll tell you why it's so important. Because Mitzrayim represents the wisdom of the natural world. They knew everything. Whatever man would ever learn afterwards, particularly the knowledge of Greece, which ain't far from the Nile, okay? You just sail a boat up and you're in Athens, correct? How far is it? In fact, what's the biggest city in northern Egypt other than Cairo? Alexandria, named after whom? Alexander the Great, who came from Macedonia, part of the Greek Empire, and who was a student of Aristotle. And who were the Romans, or Moshe Shapiro writes about this. I'll tell you how. The Romans inherited the Greek knowledge, which was inherited from the Egyptian knowledge. They knew everything about the Khartoumim. What were you going to teach them? They knew how to manipulate this world's forces, the forces of this world. They had the technology to build pyramids. It's absolutely stunning. How? How could they know? Because they represent the essence of natural science. Natural and supernatural, I might add, but nothing holy.
So they made the snakes turn into sticks as well.
Yes. And the snake, I'm glad you mentioned that. Everybody thinks the Nachash is all negative. But according to the Kabbalistic Svarim and the Agaditas of Shas, there's a certain group of stories called Saba de Beatuna, the elders of Rome, the wise men, like a Saba is the wise men, of Athens, excuse me, of
Well,
Greece.
that's what the Shlomo Melech gathered and gave them over.
Well, it's connected to that. But this is really the wise men of Rome during the Hellenistic period, or even after. Or Yeshua, the Tana, who was not a handsome man. He was known as a very not nice looking man. So much so that the emperor's daughter asked him, in her Caleb, how could you have such beautiful wine, meaning wisdom, in such an ugly container? Because Rome and Greece was all about aesthetic beauty. Yaf Elohim liyefet, v'yishkon ba'ohel Hashem. Perfection. Perfect architecture. Perfect symmetry. You know how the Romans used to fight? Incredible thing. They would make a phalanx. You know what it was? They would march in a formation, a tightly locked formation, and just run you over. It was like a massive sword, just going forward. They just locked step with each other, and they marched towards you and destroyed you. That was it. They had perfect symmetry in everything that they did. Even in Maras HaMachpelah, which is unbelievable, which was built by whom? Well, Aaron bought it originally. Herod. King Herod, who was a patron, who Rome was his patron. He went to Rome to get the job. He sailed to Rome, like everybody did, and he got the job to be Kohen Gadol. You know how it says in the Mishnayos in Yuma that the Kohen Gadol would come in and drop dead, and every year another one would drop dead. Yeah, because they bought the job. It was a lucrative position. It was the most powerful position in the country. It was essentially like being the king. Because you controlled the economy, it was centered around Yerushalayim. You were the king. Kohen Gadol was the king. Going back to the Maccabees.
And it didn't bother them that
It was a
only
country.
lasted a year?
What?
And then it didn't bother them that it only lasted till Yom Kippur? They all died.
Well, they didn't all drop dead on Yom Kippur itself, but
No, I thought that's why they pulled it up.
they didn't believe in it. They didn't believe in it.
I
They
would
didn't
deny
believe it. They
it.
had a rational
I can
explanation.
beat this.
He had a bad cold. He got pneumonia.
Yeah.
Had a heart attack. They didn't believe in it. And that is the essence of Chachmas Kiyama. And we're going to get to that one second right now in the Parsha through Rashi. But Yosef and Paro have a conversation. Paro says to Yosef, I have heard that you're the wisest of anyone. I have the greatest natural psychologists, sorcerers, savants, experts, PhDs, right? And no one can interpret for me and give me an explanation that will satisfy me intellectually as well as emotionally. And what does Yosef say? He says, but I'm going to give you a chance. So what does Yosef answer?
God gives me all this knowledge.
Bil Adai, I am absolutely nothing. Hashem Ya'aneh es from Paro, right? Meaning you want wholeness, you want symmetry, you want beauty, you want wisdom. You have to understand that behind it is a source. And this is the essence of the problem. Looking behind the wisdom to the source of the wisdom. Right, I'll give you an example. 2 years ago, one of the cutting edge parts of science, of which there are many, is on the nuclear level, correct? That they do research about the formation of atoms, electrons, and subatomic particles. And And that's how we got nuclear energy anyway. We would never have gotten that, the ability to destroy the world, if we didn't look at the tiniest part of the world. By understanding the power of breaking atoms apart, that's the power from whence nuclear energy comes. Anyway, so they have these things called accelerators. Accelerators mean that they try to create a situation where they break apart these little molecules and shoot them as like billiard balls against each other to see how they'll recombine. So remember, in Hashem's Chachma, the way it works is these non-entities, these electrons or protons, or they have all kinds of names of even smaller things now, somehow are held together by some sort of magnetic energy that holds them together, which is of course Hashem. But nobody wants to acknowledge that, right? So they're just observing how do they combine, how do they connect. They have these little pulls, plus minus pulls towards each other. They want to see how it all works. They keep shooting at it, shooting it, and then they observe what forms, right? And what they found in these accelerators is the faster you shoot a subatomic particle, right, it just slows down before it reaches the speed of light. Or, what does Hashem create the world with? Vayhi Or, the divine process of creation, which is represented by Or, Chachma, that we are, Or, Lagoyim, has been proven by the scientists to be the one thing which is above all else. Because the speed of light is at 186,000 miles per second. So they were able to reproduce this, and you know what the accelerators are, by the way? They're underneath the English Channel. Ironically, it's like the Spitz of Edom, the Spitz of our Golos is under there, right? And they refused to acknowledge. Einstein, the Jew, of course, figured it out, but they just can't say, well, this is the Metzios, this is what it is, but that leaves them short of the next step, which is how in the world, what does this mean? They're not up to what it means, they just want to know what it is. So Yosef and Paro's conversation is the conversation of the elders of Athens, primarily out of Aristotle, Plato, and who's the third one? Socrates. Those three, nothing has really changed. Everything in modern science and university inquiry is all coming from that original wisdom which came from Paro and was taken over eventually by Rome. Okay, they're inherited it. So, where's the biggest sources of hatred against the Jewish people, against the Or of Torah today? Where is it? Here? Where? In America, let's say. Where's the real hatred coming? Real hatred. Universities. You know, state legislatures are all passing these anti-BDS bills and so on. But in the universities, there's foreign students and together with the professors and the foreign students, that's your Esav Yishmael connection, by the way, because it's only in combination these days. They only spoke about this many times. Yishmael and Esav alone can't bother us, but in combination, they are very, very dangerous. They're lethal. And that's what's going on at the universities. The intellect of the West and the